Matt Monro, known as the Man with the Golden Voice, was an English singer who became one of the most popular entertainers on the international music scene during the 1960s and 1970s. Throughout his 30-year career, he filled cabarets, nightclubs, music halls, and stadiums in Australia, Japan, the Philippines, and Hong Kong to Africa, the Middle East, Europe, and the Americas. Early career: he was born Terence Edward Parsons in Shoreditch, London, and attended Duncombe School in Islington, and Elliott School in Putney. Affectionately nicknamed the Singing Bus Driver, he got his first break in 1956 when he became a featured vocalist with the BBC show Band. An important influence on his early career was the pianist Winifred Atwell, who became his mentor, provided him with his stage name, and helped him sign with Decca Records. In 1957 Monro released Blue and Sentimental, a collection of standards. Despite the album's critical acclaim, Monro languished among the young male singers trying to break through at the end of the 1950s, many of them emulating Frankie Vaughan by recording cover versions of American hits. A short recording contract with Fontana Records followed. By the end of the 1950s, Monro's mid-decade fame had evaporated, and he returned to relative obscurity. He and his wife Mickey lived from her wages as a song plugger and his royalties from a TV advertising jingle for Camay soap. In 1959 he recorded a country pastiche song, Bound for Texas, for the Chaplin Review, a feature-length compilation of Charlie Chaplin shorts. It would be the first of many Monro soundtrack themes. International success: prior to producing the Peter Sellers album Songs for Swinging Sellers in 1960, George Martin asked Monro to record a satirical ditty to help the comedian imitate the song with a Frank Sinatra-type styling. When Sellers heard the recording he decided to use it to open the record rather than record his own version. However, Sellers billed Monro as Fred Flange, and though it was a demoralizing experience at the time, the incident developed into a lifelong friendship with Martin, who subsequently asked Monro to begin recording with him for EMI's Parlophone record label. Their second single and Monro's highest UK chart success, Portrait of My Love, penned by Norman Newell OBE, reached number 3 in the UK singles chart. By the following year, he had been named Top International Act by Billboard. In February 1961, the British music magazine, NME, reported that Monro had won ITV's A Song for Britain with My Kind of Girl. His follow-up hits included that song, plus Sophie As I Leave You, and the song from the James Bond film From Russia with Love. For the latter, his vocals were not used in the opening titles, as became the standard for the series. They were heard on a radio during the film and over the final credits. At the 1964 Eurovision Song Contest, singing I Love the Little Things, he finished second behind Italy's 16-year-old Gigliola Cinquetti, despite an excellent performance of the only English-language song of the night. The Austrian entry Warum nur Warum, performed by songwriter Udo Jahn Gens, caught Monro's ear, despite its sixth-place finish, and he recorded an English version titled Walk Away, earning him another hit single late in 1964. He also had a hit with the Beatles' Yesterday in 1965, releasing the first single of the most recorded song of all time, predating even the Beatles' own. The following year, Monro sang the Oscar-winning title song for the film, Born Free, which became his signature tune. It was also his second collaboration with John Barry, following From Russia with Love. Monro went on to record 2 further songs from Barry film scores, Wednesday's Child, and This Way Mary. Both Born Free and On Days Like These had lyrics by Don Black. On December 31, 1976, Monro performed Black's Walk Away on BBC One's A Jubilee of Music, celebrating British pop music for Queen Elizabeth II's impending Silver Jubilee. Monro achieved fame in the United States when My Kind of Girl and Walk Away hit the top 40. In 1966, following the death of Nat King Cole, EMI moved Monro from Parlophone to Capitol. After relocating to California and recording several albums with American arrangers, Monro returned to the UK and began appearing on EMI's Columbia label, his final US album release being Close to You in 1970. This LP contained We're Gonna Change the World, a semi-satirical song about women's liberation, which was not a hit in either the US or the UK but was nevertheless widely played, and became enduringly popular, on BBC Radio 2. He continued touring and recording until just before his death, releasing a single and promoting it throughout the UK and Australia in 1984. In one of his final appearances, he praised Boy George, noting the importance of quality recordings in all musical genres. Death and legacy. Monro died from liver cancer in 1985 at the Cromwell Hospital, Kensington, London, leaving a widow, Mickey, and 3 children, Mitchell, Michelle, and Matthew. Mitchell, a professional pilot, also died of cancer in 2004. A memorial was held in Harrow. The 20th anniversary of Monro's passing spotlighted the continuing interest in his music, with a top 10 tribute compilation CD, a #1 concert DVD, a BBC TV documentary, and an official website all appearing in 2005. A 2007 compilation CD entitled From Matt with Love reached the top 40 of the UK albums chart during its first week of release. His songs were featured on Friday Night is Music Night on October 8, 2010. In autumn 2005, Matt Monro Jr. toured the United Kingdom with a tribute concert commemorating the anniversary. Also, EMI re-released Matt Sings Monro, a 1995 duet album that combined his voice with the senior Monros. Another posthumous Matt Monro duet, with Cliff Richard, appeared on Richard's duet CD, Two's Company, in 2007. Monro never recorded a live concert album, preferring the technical purity of the recording studio and wanting his public performances to retain an element of uniqueness. However, in the past few years, commercially released concert albums have emerged following meticulous remastering of radio and television shows, private recordings he commissioned. These include an intimate 1967 cabaret performance from his first tour of Australia, a 1967 BBC concert with Nelson Riddle, a 1966 arena concert before 24,000 fans in Manila, and one of his final concerts, recorded on the last night of his 14th and final Australian tour in 1984. In recent years, many singers riding the resurging wave of retro pop have cited Matt Monro as a strong influence, including Michael Bublé, Copyright, Monica Mancini, and Rick Astley. Musicians' biographies regularly note his stylistic influence on their subjects, including Cass Elliot and Karen Carpenter. He continues to feature prominently on radio stations and CD compilations featuring popular easy-listening vocalists. His daughter Michelle has written a biography, The Singer's Singer, The Life and Music of Matt Monro. His music, most of the Monro's recordings were produced or overseen by George Martin. Unlike his contemporaries, Monro recorded very few Tin Pan Alley standards during his career. Instead, he and Martin searched for material written by promising newcomers and commissioned English lyrics for dramatic melodies written by European composers. He also covered many of the most popular stage and screen songs of the 1950s and 1960s. Over the years, his recordings featured arrangements by Sid Feller, Billy May, John Barry, Buddy Brugman, Kenny Clayton and Colin Keys, and Martin himself. He also had a long and fruitful musical partnership with British arranger Johnny Spence. Monro also teamed up with American star arrangers Nelson Riddle and Billy May and leading British band leader Ted Heath, for concerts broadcast by the BBC. In 1973, Monro released a vocal version of the popular Van der Velk TV series theme titled, And You Smiled. It was his final hit. In 1977 he recorded If I Never Sing Another Song, which became a latter-day standard among his contemporaries, its lyrics referring to the heyday of fan mail, awards, and other trappings of celebrity that had faded for them. Hit albums. A year before 1973 the BPI did not have an album single certified award scheme. Hit singles, Marriages, He Was Married Twice, 2, Iris, in 1953. One son Mitchell, Mickey Scheller, married 1959 to 1985. One daughter Michelle and one son, Matt Monro Jr., references.